10 years ago, I stood in a town hall meeting of a company that I had been working for quite a while. In front of me, people I had never seen before, and they told me, "You're part of the family now." What a very cynical way to describe what just happened. But what did happen? To say it with Armin's words earlier, I experienced a moment of true commodification. My work, my relationship, I would say my love for that company I worked for, just became an object of speculation and profit maximization. And that was a truly sad moment for me. But it was also the moment without which I wouldn't be standing here today. So thank you, I guess. Not sure. I would like to talk about two things today. First, our experiences and learnings of investing in steward-owned companies. And secondly, I want to explore a rather difficult space. Could it be that the actual challenge of steward-ownership aligned finance goes far beyond technical questions and taps deep into more cultural aspects, maybe psychological aspects? When we started Purpose 10 years ago, a question was guiding us. The question was, how do healthy and sustainable ownership structures look like? And we found steward ownership, and we fell in love with it, as you guys know. But shortly after, another question popped up, another challenge that we had to face. And that was the question, how can you finance steward-owned companies? How can you invest in companies without making them an object for speculation, without profit maximization? We started Purpose Ventures and Purpose Evergreen Capital to face that question. Two investment funds to explore what is possible and to find out the details of how it works. Combined, the two funds, within the two funds, we are responsible for 45 million euros, and we have invested in over 40 steward-owned companies by now. From early-stage companies like White Plastic to Series A investments like ShareTribe or Haferkata, or later-stage transitions like you heard, OGC or Birdsong Tee, and many, many more. We wanted to find out if there is a market for this. And I would say yes, many of you investees are in the room today. How large is it? We'll find out. We wanted to find out how to structure the investments, how to structure the deal terms. And I would say we did. You can find all the resources online. You can find the deal terms. You can find the contracts and all the beautiful case studies. We wanted to explore if co-investors would come on board as LPs or just co-invest alongside us. And I would say you did. And it was a blast with many of you. We also wanted to prove that this can be competitive to venture capital and competitive to private equity. I would say we haven't yet. We don't have the data yet, but I do think that we see enough signals that this can be successful enough to create a capital layer, maybe an asset class, a quality of capital that truly serves steward-owned companies. All this work would have not been possible without donors and investors who truly, truly trusted us and gave a lot of trust into our work. And it would also not have been possible without the entrepreneurs out there who, while they faced all the challenges of their daily business, at the same time went completely into uncharted waters with us and explored this. So I want to ask you for an applause for all those donors, investors, and entrepreneurs who did that with us. Without you, we couldn't have done that. Some of the thinking nowadays that we didn't have 10 years ago. We kind of just started, and while we did it, we learned, we thought, we discussed, and we conceptualized. And one of those conceptualizations and definitions is what we nowadays call the principles of steward-ownership aligned investment. And the thinking about that is as I want to share now. This is our definition at the moment. How do you invest in steward-owned companies? I'll read that because I want to be precise here. In steward-ownership aligned financing, the quality of the investment and the relationship with the company are designed in such a way that investors become financing partners of the company while preserving the company's entrepreneurial autonomy first and refraining from commodifying the company as a whole. The relationship between the financing partner and the company is defined in a way that the entrepreneurial control can never be overtaken, it can never be bought. And the economic claims of the investors are being limited in terms of duration, amount, or influence. And in order to put this definition into real life, you have to make adjustments, alignments, and twists to carry it out into your investment structure. And this leaves ample room for many, many shades of gray. We have already heard about Novo Nordisk. That was mentioned to me once as the best kept secret of capitalism, because they enshrine their self-determination in a foundation. At the same time, they have the shares on the stock markets. But it also leaves room for companies like Bosch, who finance themselves through corporate bonds, or ShareTribe, with a fixed multiple cap, or companies like Wild, who created a future profit partnership agreement in the form of participation rights, or Hafakata, who we heard. They finance themselves through crowdfunding and redeemable equity. All of these models make sure that the capital serves purpose and that people can intentionally take stewardship. That is what is important about it. I could keep talking about the beauty of steward-ownership aligned finance and how easy it is. It can be, really can be. But I want to, as I mentioned at the beginning, turn to the more difficult side of that as well and give words to the more difficult side. Since I started working in this field, I wondered, what is so damn hard about it? Why does it seem such a daunting task sometimes to move capital towards those companies? And I think the part of the answer might be that steward ownership, and especially steward ownership aligned finance, just implies an attempt to a very, very old kind of question. That is, what happens when money stops serving and starts ruling? In the preparation for this talk, I looked at a guy called Georg Simmel, and he wrote The Philosophy of Money. And he describes money as the purest form of abstraction and quantification. Money can enable freedom, yet at the same time, it can easily lead to alienation and a certain flattening. Everything becomes measurable, interchangeable, and the endless dynamic of evermore. Availability is prioritized above all, and almost everything is turned into an object, like the company I worked for. And if this isn't enough of a challenge for you, money can also be something that kind of hides our deepest shadows. Our psychological, emotional issues can manifest into how you relate to money. Guilt, shame, scarcity, all of that can be reflected in how you relate to money. So the task is, I think, next to the technical questions, to have a conscious relationship with money, one that preserves cultural depth and personal meaning and rejects this pull of objectification. Max Weber warned us of a similar danger. He said that capitalism's drive for efficiency and profit could trap us in what he calls an iron cage, a system so rationalized that freedom and purpose have no room to breathe. But steward ownership is our attempt to loosen those bars. It is an act that brings freedom and meaning into the economic life. And it is exactly that freedom, that emancipation, that fascinates me most about steward ownership. It is the freedom of people like Juho Makkonen, who is here tonight, who says, sorry, my company is not for sale. It is the freedom of people like Ernst Abbe, who followed his moral intuition and founded the Zeiss Foundation. It is the freedom of people like Yvonne Chouinard, who decouples the family wealth from Patagonia. And it is the freedom of people like Christian from Ecosia, who says, I'll use all my profits to plant trees. So I think within this opening of Weber's iron cage lies that freedom. And it is a freedom to act and to start. So regardless of how daunting this task is, I want to end on why I'm optimistic about steward ownership and steward ownership aligned finance. I want to build on what Charles Conn of Patagonia said at our last conference. The market and the future is just going to solve this. Those companies, the companies that are purpose-led and purpose-driven, those are the ones that are going to be more successful. People want to work in those companies. People want to invest in those companies. People want to start those companies. And a latest nationwide survey in Germany might prove him right. 44% of founders in Germany just said that they want to remain majority owners of their companies. Only 20% said that they ever want to IPO. Or, to put it with another saying, Albert Wenger once said at our conferences, VC is a very strong hammer, but not every company wants to be a nail. I think reclaiming this relationship between investors and companies has so much potential for stewardship. If we, to build on what Armin said, let ourselves be touched, be in resonance, and dare to answer the question, what is enough for us individually, we can make capital fit for purpose. But we cannot do that without challenging what some perceive as the corporate laws of physics. But there are no corporate laws of physics. There are no natural laws. It is all decisions that we make. When Patagonia made the move to steward ownership, my whole LinkedIn page was full with investors who said how great this is, how this is the future of business. And I wondered how much of that capital of those investors actually helps the next Patagonia today to emerge. And I think much of that capital today does not only not help the next Patagonia, but hinders the next Patagonia to emerge. And I think we can do more. And I'm optimistic that we will do more because of the people in this room and the people I've met over the last 10 years. I think we can flee this iron cage, and I think instead of growing ever more monoculture of companies, we can create a diverse garden of beautiful, different forms of companies that are purpose-driven and beautiful. Thank you very much.